Every man should have the basic skill of pouring a concrete slab. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through how I poured a 3 foot by 5 foot concrete slab. The form is made up of standard 2x6 and held in place by a couple of concrete blocks and 2 rebar stakes. So the existing slab that I'm butting up against has a little bit of a lip, so I had to kind of fiddle with the form and cut out a couple of notches and reposition my stakes, and this is kind of par for the course. My objective was to make sure that my slab was pitched away from the door, and then I was able to continue. Concrete has 4 basic phases. Wet concrete is kind of a slurry where the sand and the gravel can move freely within the cement. And the second phase is firm. That's when the aggregate, the sand and the gravel, are kind of set inside the cement and can't move anymore. Third phase is set. That's when you can take off the form. And then fourth phase is cured, when the concrete has reached nearly full strength. And most of the magic happens between the first and second phase, when you pour it and it goes from being a slurry to being firm, and the staging of the steps in shaping and finishing the concrete is what I'll focus on in this video. When working with bagged concrete, it's important to wear a dust mask to protect your lungs. In the 2 front corners, I dug a little bit deeper to provide extra strength and minimize shifting. As I pour each layer, it has to be agitated down with the shovel, and the edges and corners have to be run with a trowel to make sure there's no bubbles between the slab and the form, and each subsequent layer is well melded with the next one. Concrete is a slurry, so it's not like water. It's not going to conform just by gravity to the container that it's poured into. Once the form is full, I'll use a 2x6 as a screed to push down the gravel away from the surface. This is done with an up and down motion, gentle hammering. Then a light trowel to make sure all the aggregate is settled away from the surface. After about 20 minutes, the concrete has firmed up a little bit, and I can use a straight edge in a side-to-side sawing motion to scrape off the top of the concrete and make it match the form, and use a hand trowel to patch up any little low spots as needed. After about 20 minutes, I'm ready to work the edge and trowel the top a second time. In total, it's been about 40 minutes since the form was filled. If I tried this earlier, the edge wouldn't keep and the aggregate would kind of slump forward and get sloppy. After another 45 minutes, I'm ready to start finishing the surface and edges. In all, it's been about 90 minutes since the form was filled. And this will depend on air temperature and humidity. If it's hot and it's extra dry, you might be doing this in an hour or even quicker. And you might have to actually wet the surface to keep it from drying out. So it depends on the conditions. The concrete is now firm, which means all the gravel is basically set in its place. And I'm dealing with cement and sand on the surface, trying to make it look pretty. I'll go back and forth between the edging tool and the flat trowel to get a nice smooth surface. This is finesse work and experience matters. You want to gently move the tools, floating them on the surface, tilting them as you move them to minimize the disturbance and to get a nice, clean, attractive finish. Once the edges and the surface are nice and smooth, it could be left alone until it's set, or in this case, I want to reduce slip hazards, so I'm going to scuff the surface up using a broom. It's best to use a coarse bristled broom, and you want to wet the broom before using it for this purpose. Shake out the extra water. That helps prevent the concrete from sticking to the bristles. And then you want to just gently pull it across that nice smooth surface you just made. It's a good idea to rinse and shake out the broom between each pass, and I didn't do that in this case, and as a result I had a little clumping that left kind of a deeper groove right at the transition of where the shadow and the sun fell on the slab, so it was hard for me to see, but it wasn't that big of a deal. Once you're done brooming it, you're going to go back over with the edging tool to nicely frame in the textured area. If you're not happy with the surface, you can always trowel it back smooth, broom it again, and edge it again. In this case, it wasn't perfect, but it was good enough, and you gotta know when to stop fussing with it and walk away. Here is another look at the slab fully in the shade, and you may notice some splatters on the door. That's got to get repainted later. The edges look good, nice and smooth, straight, framing in the textured surface. That extra groove that's kind of in the middle, that was in the sunshade line, that was hard to notice before. It's a little bit more noticeable now, but once the slab fully cures, that'll be negligible. I kept the piece of landscaping fabric on top of the slab as it's set to help protect it against some walking traffic, and also to help keep in the moisture as I sprayed it down from time to time with water to help with the curing process. It's been 30 hours since the form was filled. The concrete is now set and the form can be removed. It's important to remember that the concrete is still weak. It can be damaged with tools, and care must be taken separating the form from the slab. You don't want to pry against the concrete. You don't want to put a crowbar between the wood and the concrete. Take care to push on the wood, maybe wedge something between pieces of wood or the ground and the wood, but not between the wood and the concrete. It is still weak and could be easily damaged. Now we clean up the edges, trim the landscape fabric, and backfill the gravel. There you have it. Being able to pour a concrete slab is an essential skill every man needs to have. Get outside, build things. You don't need anyone's permission. Just do it.